The auction of shame. The twin suns of Corgan Prime burned high in the sky, casting long shadows over the dusty slave market. Creatures of all shapes and sizes crowded the metal cages and wooden platforms. Traitors shouted, prices were screamed, and some slaves wept quietly behind bars. It was just another day in this part of the galaxy, a place where the weak were sold and the rich were entertained. At the center of the market stood a raised platform made of dark steel. On it stood a girl, young, alien, and beautiful. Her long silver hair shimmered in the sunlight, and her glowing purple eyes stared blankly ahead. A collar of control blinked red around her neck. Her wrists and ankles were chained. The crowd leaned closer to get a better look. "This one is a rare piece," shouted the auctioneer, a fat green alien with 6 eyes and gold rings on every finger. "Personal slave. She obeys without question, loyal, silent, and trained in every pleasure." The crowd laughed and cheered. Many raised their credit sticks, placing their bids. "She doesn't talk," someone whispered. "She's probably not even a person," another said. "Look at that body. Worth every credit," said a third, licking his lips. The girl didn't move. She was trained not to. Her name was Sella once, but now she was just Unit 47 to them. Nothing more than a toy. But then someone unexpected stepped forward. He was human. Tall, quiet, dressed in plain travel gear. Dust covered his boots. Simple blaster hung at his belt. His face was hard to read, calm but serious. He walked through the crowd without saying a word and stopped right in front of the platform. The auctioneer chuckled. "A human? Here to buy some fun, are you?" The human looked up at the girl. She looked down at him just for a second. Something in his eyes was different. There was no hunger, no cruelty, just calm. He pulled out a silver token, a high-value one. The auctioneer's eyes lit up. "Sold. The human wins." The auctioneer roared. "Come, boy, take your prize." The crowd laughed again. Some clapped. Others made rude jokes. But the human didn't smile. 2 guards pushed the girl forward. Her chains clanked as she stumbled off the platform. The human caught her gently before she fell. For the first time, she felt warmth. His hand didn't hurt her. He held her steady, like she was a person, not a thing. He led her quietly through the crowd. They reached the edge of the market where a small transport ship waited. Then he did something no one expected. He pulled out a key, a real one, and unlocked her collar. It fell to the ground with a soft beep. Her eyes widened. He unlocked her wrists, then her ankles. The chains dropped. "You're free," he said softly. She blinked. Did she hear that right? "What?" she asked, her voice dry and small. "You're not a slave anymore," he said. "You don't belong to me. You belong to yourself." She stared at him. Nobody had ever said those words to her. For as long as she could remember, she was bought, sold, touched, and used. Now, this human was saying she was free? "Why?" she whispered. "Because no one should live in chains," he replied. Tears filled her glowing eyes, but she didn't cry. She didn't know how anymore. "My name is Jace," he said, holding out his hand. She hesitated. Slowly, she reached out and touched his fingers. I don't have a name," she said quietly. "Then choose one," he said, "or take your old one back. You decide." She looked at him, really looked. He wasn't like the others. He didn't see her as a thing. Maybe she could trust him. "Sella," she said at last. "My name was Sella." "Nice to meet you, Sella," Jace said with a smile. "Let's get out of here." As they walked up the ship's ramp, someone in the crowd watched with angry eyes. A slaver who had once owned her. He clenched his fists. She was not supposed to leave. He growled. The market might be done with Sella, but her past wasn't finished with her, and the real danger had only just begun. Learning freedom, Sela sat in the corner of the small ship's cabin, her knees pulled to her chest. The chains were gone. The collar was gone. But inside her, something still felt heavy. She was no longer a slave, but she didn't feel free. Jace didn't force her to speak. He gave her space, silence, and food. Not rich food, just simple bread, fruit, and water. But no one had ever offered before. Not without expecting something. In return, she didn't touch the plate for a long time. When he returned from the cockpit, he saw her staring at it. "You can eat," he said gently. "It's yours." She picked up a piece slowly and took a bite. Her hand shook. "No drugs," he added, sitting across from her. "No poison, just food." She looked up at him. His eyes were kind. That scared her more than cruelty. "Why? Are you doing this?" she asked. He shrugged. "Because I can, because someone should." Sela wanted to believe him, but she had seen kindness used as a trick before. Kindness always came with pain later. He handed her a blanket, not rough cloth like before. Soft. Warm. She wrapped herself in it, unsure if she deserved it. Later that night she woke up suddenly, breathing fast. Her heart raced. She had dreamed of the cage again, of the hands, of the collar pulling tight. She looked around the room. No bars, no guards. And Jace? He was asleep in the hallway, sitting upright against the wall, gun in his lap, protecting her, not watching her. The next day, she followed him into the ship's control room. He looked back and smiled. "Want to sit?" She nodded. He pointed to a second chair and explained the buttons. "This is the nav system. That one's the thruster. Don't touch the red one." She blinked. "You're teaching me?" "Why not?" he said. "You're not property anymore. You're a person, a smart one." "I don't know anything," she said quietly. "You'll learn." She liked that answer. No one had ever told her she could learn. In the days that followed, Sela began walking around the ship more. She explored carefully, touched things with light fingers. She found the engine room, the supply closet, even a window where she could see stars fly past. Each time she expected a voice to shout at her, to stop her, to punish her, but it never came. Instead, Jace kept asking her strange questions. "What food do you like? What colors do you think are pretty? Do you like music?" She had no answers. Slaves weren't allowed to have likes or thoughts. But now, she started thinking. Maybe she did like the color blue. Maybe she wanted to learn music. Maybe she liked how Jace smiled with his eyes. One evening, he handed her a brush and a mirror. She didn't know what to do. "You can brush your hair if you want," he said. "It's yours now." She stared at her reflection. She looked unfamiliar. Her silver hair was messy. Her eyes were tired but still bright. She brushed slowly. It felt good. Strange, but good. Jace smiled. "That's the real you." But peace didn't last. Late one night, while Sela was asleep, Jace picked up a message on a private channel. "High-value asset escaped. Unit 47 must be returned, dead or alive. Big reward offered." Jace's face darkened. He shut the screen quickly and walked to the engine room. He had to move faster, hide better. They were coming for her. The next morning, Sela walked into the kitchen and saw Jace preparing food. She asked him something new. Something she never thought she'd say. "Can I help?" Jace looked surprised. Then he smiled. "Yeah, I'd like that." They stood side by side, chopping fruit and talking. It felt normal, safe, like a real life, a new life. But as they laughed far above them, a tracking signal blinked red. A slaver ship had picked up their trail. The hunt had begun. The secret she carries. Sela stood by the ship's window, watching the stars blur into long lines as the vessel moved through hyperspace. Her fingers lightly touched the cold glass. She had never seen space like this, so silent, so endless. No walls. No locks. Behind her, Jace was fixing wires near the power core. He hummed softly as he worked. The hum made the ship feel like a home. But something inside Sela wasn't quiet. Lately, her dreams had changed. She saw flashes, images that didn't make sense. A golden hall. A man with glowing armor and sharp blue eyes. A voice calling her name, Sela Ara, not Unit 47. A soft lullaby in a language she didn't remember learning. She didn't tell Jace at first. She didn't know how. But the dreams wouldn't stop. That night, Jace was working at the control panel when she finally spoke. I think I used to be someone else. He looked up, alert. What do you mean? I see things when I sleep, she said, sitting beside him. Strange places. A symbol like a star with wings. People bowing. A man saying I'm his daughter. Jace's face turned serious. Do you remember his name? She shook her head. Just the way he looked at me, like I mattered. Jace opened his datapad and tapped quickly. Show me the symbol. Sela took a piece of paper and drew it with shaking hands. The moment it was done, Jace's eyes widened. He turned the screen toward her. It showed an old royal banner. That symbol belongs to the House of Eltherin, he said. A royal family from the planet Solarian. They were overthrown years ago. The king's daughter was said to be lost during the war. Many thought she died. Sela's hands trembled. You think I'm her? Jace nodded slowly. It's possible. If it's true, you were kidnapped, sold, hidden for years as a slave. But why? She whispered. Because dead royals can't return. But missing ones? He leaned in. They threaten the ones who took power. Sela stood up, pacing. Her whole life felt like a lie. All the pain, all the cages. Was that her punishment? For being born into the wrong bloodline? If I really am the princess, like what happens now? She asked. Jace looked at her, calm but firm. Now, we find proof, and we protect you. The next day, Jace docked the ship at a neutral station hidden in an asteroid field. He knew someone there, a hacker named Rin, half machine, half brilliant. Rin scanned Sela's DNA while she stood nervously in the corner. After a long silence, he turned and said, You're not just anyone. You're genetically coded into Valtherin tech. That confirms it. You're her. Sela sat down heavily. She felt dizzy. I don't know how to be a princess, she said softly. Jace knelt beside her. You don't have to be. You just need to be you. That's enough. But the moment they left the station, everything changed. A black ship appeared out of nowhere. No warnings, no signals. Enemy vessel detected, the ship's AI said. Unmarked, tracking us. Jace jumped into the pilot's seat. Hold on. Sela grabbed the side rail as the ship shook. Lasers flashed outside the window. One shot grazed the rear engine. Who are they? She shouted. Hunters, Jace said through gritted teeth. They must have tracked the DNA scan. Sela's chest tightened. This was her fault. She had led them straight to danger. In the chaos, she reached for the emergency seat harness and noticed something tucked inside a small pouch. An old crest pin. It was the same star wing symbol she had drawn. She touched it gently. It was real. Her past was real. But the danger was too. Jace spun the ship and fired 2 flares. The screen shook violently, then stilled. The black ship vanished off the radar. For now, he said, breathing hard. But they'll come again. Sela stood beside him, holding the pin tightly. I don't want to be hunted, she said. But I won't hide anymore either. Jace looked at her with pride. Then we fight together. Outside, the stars kept moving. But inside the ship, something had changed. Sela was no longer just a freed slave. She was a lost princess with a fire rising inside her. And that fire was about to burn the galaxy. Chase across stars, The stars flashed by as Jace's ship sped through the black sea of space. But even with full thrusters, they both knew they were being followed. Sela sat in the co-pilot seat, staring at the radar screen. A small red dot blinked on the edge. The black ship was still behind them. Always behind, never too close, never too far, like a shadow that wouldn't disappear. "They're not trying to catch us yet," Jace said, adjusting the controls. "They're waiting." "Waiting for what?" Sela asked. "For us to run out of fuel or make a mistake." He looked over at her. She didn't seem scared anymore. Not like before. Her eyes were sharper now. Focused. "I'm not going back," she said, firmly. "You won't," Jace promised. They dropped out of hyperspace near a broken moon. Jace guided the ship through a thick asteroid belt, using old smuggler routes. He hoped the rocks would block scanners. For now, they had to hide. While the ship recharged, Sela explored the storage room. She found a dusty case covered in old cloth. Inside were small metal spheres, combat drones. Outdated but usable. She showed them to Jace. "These still work?" He raised an eyebrow. "Where did you find those?" "In your junk pile," she said with a slight smile. He chuckled. "I keep meaning to throw them out. You want to learn how they work?" Sela nodded. Together they fixed and reprogrammed 2 drones. Jace showed her how to sync them with voice commands and guide them in space. Sela was quick to learn. Her hands moved with purpose, her voice steady. "You've got talent," he said. "I've just never been allowed to try before," she replied. Later, Jace connected a private call to an old contact, Commander Tien, a war veteran and rebel, leader from the Outer Rings. He sent a secure message. "I need help. She's alive. The lost heir." Minutes later, Tien responded with coordinates. A hidden base inside a giant space whale skeleton, floating near a dying star. A place forgotten by most. But getting there wouldn't be easy. The black ship was still watching. That night, Sela sat in the dark, staring at the glowing star-wing crest in her hand. "I feel like I should be someone important," she whispered, "but I don't remember how." Jay sat beside her. "Being important doesn't come from blood, it comes from choices." She looked at him. "And what did you choose?" "I chose not to be like them," he said. "To protect people who can't fight, to give freedom where I can." Sela nodded slowly. "Then I choose that too." The next day, they launched from the asteroid belt. Sela stayed at the weapons panel while Jace handled the flight. The moment they left the rocks, the black ship reappeared. "They're locking weapons," Sela shouted. "Release the drones," Jace ordered. 2 small metal spheres flew out of the ship, blinking blue. They spun around and sent false signals to confuse the enemy. For a few seconds, it worked. Jace jumped to hyperspace. They dropped back into real space near the old star. The bones of the massive space whale floated silently, glowing with energy. Lines. Inside the ribs was a hidden base, protected by an old rebel shield. Tien was waiting. He stepped out wearing thick armor, his face scarred but noble. "She looks just like her mother," he said quietly. Sela bowed her head, unsure what to say. "You don't have to pretend," Tien told her. "If you want to stay free, we'll protect you. But if you want to fight, we'll follow." Sela looked around. Fighters trained in the shadows. Old ships being repaired. People who had lost everything, but still believed in something. She stepped forward. "I want to learn," she said. "Not to be a princess, but to protect others like Jace protected me." Tyen smiled. "Then welcome, Sela Valtherin. Your bloodline may have started this war, but maybe you'll help end it." Back in the ship, Sela trained with Jace every day. Blasters, tactics, languages. She grew faster, smarter, stronger. The black ship no longer scared her. She would face everything. Because now, she had purpose and fire, and someone worth fighting for. The ceremony of truth. The rebel base inside the bones of the space whale was cold and quiet. A heavy silence hung in the air as Sela followed Commander Tien and Jace through the twisting tunnels. The path was lit by glowing crystals, pulsing like a heartbeat. At the center of the ancient ribcage stood a great metal door. Strange symbols moved across its surface like liquid stars. This place was built by the Makers, Tien explained. Long before your people. It's one of the few places in the galaxy that can confirm royal blood, not by DNA, but by memory. Sela stared at the door. Memory? Tien nodded. It will show you your past if your blood is true. But be warned. It doesn't hide pain. Jace placed a hand on her shoulder. You don't have to do this. Sela looked at him. I do. She stepped forward. The door opened with a soft hiss. Inside was a small circular chamber. In the center was a stone seat shaped like wings. As Sela sat down, the room darkened. Lights swirled around her like stars. Then they entered her. She gasped as visions exploded in her mind. She was a child again, running through palace gardens. A man lifted her high, her father, the king of Valtherin. His laugh was warm, his armor glowed like fire. Next came fear, flames in the halls, screams, soldiers breaking in, her mother hiding her in a secret wall. Stay. Quiet, my star, the queen whispered. Don't let them take your name. Then, darkness, cold, chains, a traitor ship. Her name erased, her voice silenced. She wasn't just taken. She was hidden, on purpose, to erase her blood, to destroy her hope. The truth slammed into her chest. They didn't just enslave her. They erased her soul. When the lights faded, Sela sat in silence. Her face was pale. Her hands shook. Jace rushed to her side. Sela, I remember, she whispered. All of it. They took everything. My family. My voice. My name. Tien stepped forward, kneeling. Princess Sela Valtherin, heir to the Starwing throne. We stand with you. Sela didn't speak for a long time. Then quietly she said, I'm not the same girl who was taken. I'm not the same girl who was sold. I am what they tried to destroy, and failed. That night, the rebels held a quiet ceremony. No golden crown, no long speeches, just a circle of warriors and allies standing in silence. Jace wrapped a thin silver band around her wrist, the symbol of the old royal family. You don't need a throne, he said softly. You already carry more power than any king. Looked at him. I was born royalty, but I became strong because of you. Tears slipped down her cheeks, not of sadness, but of release. For the first time in her life, she was whole, but far away. Others watched. Inside a sleek warship, a woman dressed in black armor stared at a glowing screen. Her eyes were cold. So the little star has remembered, she said. Beside her stood a giant enforcer covered in scars. Should we strike? He asked. The woman nodded. Prepare the attack. Destroy the whale base. No survivors. She smiled, cruelly. We'll cut her memory out. Once and for all. Back at the base, Sela looked out a wide window. The stars seemed brighter now, closer. I thought I was just someone's property, she said. But now I know. I'm someone worth remembering. Jace stood beside her. They can't chain your soul anymore, she smiled. Let them come. I'm not afraid. And behind her, the rebels began to prepare. Weapons were checked. Ships were fueled. The galaxy would soon learn. Sela Valtherin had returned, and this time, she was not alone. Stand for love, not power. The base was silent, like the deep breath before a storm. Sela stood at the center of the war room, her silver hair tied back, a blaster at her hip, and the royal Starwing band on her wrist. Around her, rebel captains stood in a circle, waiting for her words. But she didn't speak of power. She didn't talk about revenge. I was born into a royal house, she said quietly, her voice steady. But I don't want a throne, I don't want titles, I just want to stop them from doing to others what they did to me. She looked at the old warriors around her. I fight not for a crown, she said. I fight for freedom. There was silence, and then a single fist hit the table. For freedom, Tyan shouted. Others followed. For Sela. For the people. For every voice they tried to silence. Jace found Sela alone in the corridor later. She was staring at a cracked mirror. Her reflection looked older than she felt. Stronger, too. You gave a good speech, Jace said, leaning against the wall. She didn't look at him. I'm scared. He stepped closer. Me too. She turned toward him. What if I lose everything again? What if we lose each other? Jace smiled, soft and sad. Then we'll lose it together. She stepped into his arms. No chains, no fear. Just the warmth of a man who never saw her as property but as a person. She whispered, You didn't free a slave. You found a person. And I fell in love with her. Jace whispered back. That night the enemy arrived. The black warship blocked out the stars. Dozens of smaller fighters swarmed from it like insects. The air shook with the sound of distant explosions. The space whale base had become a battleground. Inside the command room, alarms screamed. Fighters scrambled into ships, defense drones activated. They're targeting the core, a rebel officer shouted. Hold the line, Tyan ordered. Sela ran toward her fighter, but paused when she saw a frightened child hiding behind a crate. She knelt. Hey, she said gently. You're safe. What's your name? Luma, the little girl whispered. Sela took her hand and walked her to the shelter chamber. As the door sealed, Sela turned to Jace, who had followed her there. That girl used to be me, she said. Jace nodded. Then let's fight so no one becomes her again. Sela climbed into a sleek silver fighter. Jace flew beside her in a heavy blaster ship. The stars lit up with fire as the battle began. Enemy ships rushed in. Sela spun her fighter and fired clean shots. She moved like she was born in the sky. One enemy fighter locked onto her. Jace swooped in and destroyed it before it could strike. Stay. Sharp princess, he joked over the comm. I'm not a princess right now, she said with a grin. I'm a problem. Suddenly, the enemy warship opened its front bay. A dark figure stepped onto a long platform. The woman in black armor, the same one from Sela's visions. Sela Valtherin, she said, her voice echoing across the signal. You should have stayed forgotten. Sela locked her target. And you should have stayed in the past. Their ships clashed in the sky. Sela dodged, fired, looped. The woman fought like a storm, but Sela fought with purpose, with love, with fire. Finally, Sela's shot struck the enemy ship's engine. Flames bloomed. The black warship shook and began to fall. Back at the base, cheers filled the air as the enemy fled or fell. The sky cleared. The stars returned. Sela landed her fighter and stepped out. Her face was dirty, her arms shaking, but her eyes were bright. They had won. But more importantly, they were free. As the rebels celebrated, Jace pulled Sela aside and held out a simple chain. At the end hung a small ring. This isn't royal, he said. It's not fancy, but it's real. Sela looked at it, then at him. I never thought I'd be free, she whispered. I never thought I'd be loved. You are? Jace said softly. Always. She took the ring. I don't want a kingdom, she said. I want you. They didn't need a crown. They didn't need a throne. Because what they had was stronger. Love, and that was worth more than power. A wife, not a possession. A soft breeze flowed through the open doors of the mountain temple on Saran-Firt. The war was over. The rebels had won. The House of Valtherin was not restored as a royal empire, but as a new symbol of peace and freedom. The edge of a cliff high above the clouds, a simple ceremony was about to begin. No thrones, no gold. Just a human man and an alien woman standing side by side beneath two rising moons. Jace stood tall in his clean flight jacket, his hands behind. his back. His eyes watched only one person. Sela walked forward slowly, wearing a long, flowing dress made from soft, stardust blue fabric. Her silver hair was braided with small wildflowers. Around her wrist was no chain, only the silver band Jace gave her. She wasn't nervous. She was ready. The priest spoke few words. There was no need. Everyone knew the story. The galaxy had heard the tale. A human had purchased a slave but freed her, loved her, fought beside her, and she, once called Unit 47, had become more than anyone expected. A leader. A fighter. A wife. When the priest asked if they chose each other, they didn't wait. "I choose him," Sela said proudly, her voice strong. "He saw the real me when I was invisible to the world." "I choose her," Jace said with a soft smile. "Because she never gave up, even when she was broken." Tears shimmered in a few eyes, but no one cried harder than Commander Tyen, who stood in the back trying to hide his emotion. Sela and Jace held hands, and with one simple kiss, they were one. After the ceremony, the guests celebrated quietly with food and music. Children danced under the stars. Fighters who had once bled for freedom laughed like old friends. Sela walked through the garden near the temple, her hand still in Jace's. "I used to dream of escape," she said, "but I never imagined joy." Jace looked at her. "You made it real." They sat together under a tree. "You never once treated me like a thing," Sela whispered. "Everyone else saw a body. You saw a soul." He took her hand and kissed it. "And now the whole galaxy sees you too." Across the stars, people began telling stories. Not of queens or empires, but of a girl who rose from chains, and a human who chose love over power. The slavers went silent. The nobles who once laughed, gone. The symbol of House Valtherin became a mark of hope, not control. And everywhere that Sela and Jace went, people stood taller. Because if she could rise from darkness, maybe they could too. Later that night in their small mountain home, Sela placed the old collar, the one Jace had removed on the day they met, into a box. She locked it, then handed the key to Jace. "Keep it," she said. He looked confused. "Why?" "So that I never forget where I came from," she said, "and where I'll never return." Jace nodded, placing the key close to his heart. They stood in the window, watching the stars. No alarms, no chases. Just peace. And somewhere, far across the galaxy, another girl sat in a cage, dreaming of freedom, and someone whispered, "Did you hear? A slave became a princess. A human made her his wife. Anything is possible now, because it was more than a love story. It was a legend, and legends never die." The end.